News coming in from the telecom space at a time when the sector is witnessing an intense tariff battle. TRAI, that's the regulator, has issued a consultation paper for a comprehensive review of the tariff assessment process. Now, the paper aims to bring in clarity in the interpretation of how can you price, what kind of promotional offers you can give out, how many times you can offer something by way of a promotion, which tariff offer should qualify as an offer, and if there is a need to restrict the number of offers which can be offered by telecom companies. What does all of this mean now? To discuss that, Rajan Mathews, Director General of the COAI, joins us. Rajan, appreciate you joining us here. We understand now that this is a review of that 18-year-old telecom tariff order, and this really is basis the conversation that CEOs had with the regulator in January. Take us through what is the sort of direction that this is headed in, and what is it that industry would like to see?
So thanks, Shereen. First of all, I think congratulations to the TRAI for calling together the CEOs of industry to ask them what ought to be on the regulatory agenda for the coming year going forward. So this, as you indicated, is a response to that. And the TRAI has picked this issue of tariffs because this is a matter that is roiling the markets at present. And so I think this is an apt and appropriate one at this time. And so our members will be responding. Now, what are the critical features that have been highlighted in this particular discussion paper? There are three particular points that they have raised. And the TRAI has purposely restricted the discussion to the principles that are in play. So if you look at the three particular areas, they wanted to look at the issue of transparency. How should one define transparency? What are the principles that should be in effect to define transparency? The second area that they defined and wanted to look at was non-discrimination. So what constitutes non-discrimination? What are the classes of customers when you're offering a promo that should come into play? So that is the second area. And the third area is what is anti-competitive behavior. What is the definition of predatory pricing? What is the definition of a person who has a dominant market share? These are the things that they wanted discussions and responses to. So three major areas.
So let me ask you what the response is going to be as far as predatory pricing is concerned, because the order as it currently stands doesn't really define predatory pricing. What is the COAI's point of view on how you would like predatory pricing defined?
So I believe this is the subject matter of two particular cases. In fact, one before the Competition Commission of India, where this whole matter of predatory pricing has been brought to their attention. Secondly, there's a High Court that is also discussing this, High Court in Delhi, and of course TDSAT. So three forums, judicial forums, that are looking at this matter of what constitutes predatory pricing. Obviously, different members in our association have different opinions on this, so it would be difficult to opine when this is in a matter sub judice, if you will.
Okay, so you won't give me an answer on predatory pricing, but let me ask you about promotional offers, because that's stirred a hornet's nest as well in the telecom industry currently. So what is the view of the COAI in terms of how many times somebody can offer something by way of a promotion? Can it be repeated several times during the course of one calendar year? What should or how should a promotional offer be defined?
So I think this is a genuine area of gray, and I think that's the reason why the TRAI has teed it up for inputs from the industry and concerned parties. So clearly this ambiguity was what led to some of the contention between operators that are responding to the Reliance Jio offer in the marketplace. The periodicity of it, is it back-to-back, how long, how further, what are the elements? These are all things that were, in a sense, in the gray area. Some members felt that there was definitive clarity in the TTOs that were the technical orders, and some felt that they weren't. So I think the TRAI has put this out saying, can we, in this changed environment, moving from an all-voice network to an all-data network where there are combined offers and where there are pooling of voice and data, should we be able to look at these promos in a more definitive, transparent, and anti-competitive contextual manner. I think that's where it is. It's difficult to define properly what that outcome will be while we are in a discussion paper mode.
You know, Rajan, that's the point. You know, I've been talking to several telcos in the last 1 hour after this paper came out. Everyone says that it's difficult to define. How do you define it? And simultaneously, the argument is that a lot of players have been offering price cuts, effective price cuts, in the guise of promotional offers. So how do you really regulate something like a promotional offer? Do you say that you can't go beyond this point? That's what Shereen was asking. How do you exactly regulate this?
And add to Kritika's point, I mean, at the end of the day, if a telecom operator wants to offer his services free, why should the regulator say no? I mean, the customer stands to benefit. As a customer, why should I lose out?
That I'm sure is a good comment, but I think one has to understand that in a competitive environment, the notion of predatory pricing, selling below cost, are well-established normative indices and criteria by which one decides whether a particular tariff is appropriate in the marketplace. Of course, everybody wants things for free, but of course it has to be contextualized and evaluated in terms of the whole competitive environment. So, and I think that's the real issue, not whether the consumer is going to have a benefit, but is that a sustainable benefit for the consumer in the long run if it leads to anti-competitive behavior, monopolistic types of practices. In the long term, that's not sustainable. Consumers lose out. So I think that's the real issue that we're dealing with. In this particular context, of course, we've been dealing with forbearance. Many of our operators have been saying that, listen, please leave it to the marketplace. And I think the TRAI itself has said, look at the Ofcom example in the UK, where they've listed 5 or 6 criteria for promotions. So perhaps some type of an approach where the market flexibility is retained and you have guidelines that provide clarity to the consumer.
All right, and perhaps we will have to wait to see what the CCI opines in this matter as well, and that will have to be taken cognizance of by the telecom regulator. Rajan Mathews, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18.